Good evening. I'm Mark Gooding, ZL2UFI in Upper Hutt.
And I'm Debbie Morgan, ZL2DL in Upper Hutt.
I'm Rosemary Boshier, ZL1RO in Auckland.
And I'm Stephen McNeill, ZL4HG from Christchurch.
And I'm Jim Meachin, ZL2BHF in Nelson. And together we bring you the NZART official broadcast for March 2020. Good evening, everyone. Leading tonight's official broadcast is Presidential Comment. Here's our NZART President, Mark Gooding, ZL2UFI. Mark?
Good evening, everyone. So here we all are into the first few days of the lockdown of New Zealand due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As amateurs, we are better off than most as we can communicate without the telephone network or the internet, so our infrastructure independent. So make the most of this opportunity to get on the air, check in on your friends, or make new ones, even perhaps do some awards. Being in lockdown has its advantages for us, as you can play radios without feeling guilty that you should be doing something else. In this fast-moving world of the pandemic, it's hard to keep across the changes, but from an NZART point of view, the office is still operating, and where possible, inquiries are all being dealt with. The telephone and emails are being answered. A number of special info lines have gone out recently as things have developed or changed. These are to keep you informed. The new NZART website is also being updated as well, so it's another place for you to look. NZART Council in its March meeting have appointed a new Central Region Councillor, namely Phil Garside, ZL2RO. You can read about Phil in my column in the March-April issue of Break-In. Welcome aboard, Phil. On Wednesday, 18 March, NZART Council held a special meeting to discuss the upcoming conference to be held in Shantytown near Greymouth over Queen's Birthday weekend. The decision was made to cancel the conference for 2020. Council also wishes to thank the conference committee for all their hard work, as we are sure they are disappointed it cannot go ahead. Council also concluded to postpone both the NZART AGM and the AREC AGM to later in the year. To this end, NZART has booked the Brentwood Hotel in Kilburnie, Wellington for Saturday, 5 September 2020, starting at 10:30am. Note this will be a one-day AGM without any conference activities. More information is in the next break-in. In these uncertain times, stay well, look after yourselves, and we will come out of this. That's all from me, and back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Mark. The President of NZART, Mark Gooding, ZL2UFI. To Upper Hutt now, and our monthly update from the NZART Business Manager, Debbie Morgan, ZL2DL.
Hi, Jim, and good evening, everyone. Well, I'm not going to be all about the negative impact this damned virus is having on our country and the rest of the world. Instead, looking at a brighter picture, we finally have that chance to stop the world and breathe. We can be kinder and more aware of others. In saying this, NZART HQ will remain open as per usual operating hours. However, I will be working remotely from home, albeit with reduced information at hand, but I can allocate call signs. Suffice to say, no new exams are to be held during this lockdown, but I can allocate temporary, secondary, and lapsed call signs. Now is the perfect time to consider coming back to amateur radio. I can also let you know if your membership is current. Sadly, I cannot process any credit card or cheque payments at this time, so I do urge you all, those who are wishing to renew or join, to contact me via email or phone, and I will give you our bank details to deposit to. I have transferred the office phone to my personal mobile, so I would appreciate if you only contact me during my usual business hours, being 9am to 2pm, Monday and Tuesday, Thursday and Friday, on the same number as always. That's 04 939 2189. Conference is cancelled for this year, but we are considering the same venue for 2022, as I know many of you were looking forward to going to the West Coast and Shantytown. I do still have a few refunds to give to the early registrants, so please email your bank details to me so I can make sure your much-needed funds are returned. If you are wondering why you need to supply this information to me, the answer is simple. I do not see any bank account numbers from payers when making deposits. It is not banking practice to reveal account numbers of the persons making the payment. Well, that's all from me, Jim. Stay safe, keep well, look after one another, and we will get through this.
Thank you, Debbie. Debbie Morgan, ZL2DL, the NZART Business Manager. Nelson Branch 26 and Westfest 2020. Coordinator Stuart Robinson, ZL2STR, advises that respecting coronavirus alerts, the decision has been made to postpone Westfest 2020 until an all-clear has been given. Thanks are extended to all who offered to do presentations, and the organisers will be in touch when time allows. Regards, and please stay safe. That's Westfest 2020, scheduled for the 18th and 19th of April, now postponed. Now to catch up with amateur radio news from around the world, we join the team at the Amateur Radio Newsline.
We open this week's newscast with a story of amateur radio triumph. With so many hamfests and workshops being put on the back burner because of the coronavirus, a major gathering scheduled for a Pennsylvania college campus managed to happen anyway, just a bit differently. Paul Brown, WD9 GCO, tells us how planners pulled it off.
The problem-solving nature of the amateur radio hobby brought out the best in organizers of the recent Ham-Sci workshop, which was facing cancellation or postponement as a result of COVID-19 concerns. Instead of that happening, however, the conference went forward as scheduled on March 20th and 21st. Organizers, led by Nathaniel Fursell, W2NAF, moved the event to the web-based conference platform Zoom. Presenters spoke from their home or alone on the college or university campus, with Nathaniel as master of ceremonies, introducing each to the virtual audience. Those wishing to, quote, attend as active participants needed to register using a web page that went live a week before the event. Magic happened, as only it can in radio amateur style. Attendees were now participating not only from the U.S., but also from overseas. The presentations also had greater visual clarity for many. Originally, around 100 attendees were expected at the University of Scranton in Pennsylvania, but via the virtualization of the event, 290 attended from 24 different countries during the 2 days. The event covered a range of projects where ham radio and citizen scientists are coming together with, quote, real scientists to provide a range of data for analysis about propagation and space weather that would not be possible relying solely on universities and government organizations. Nathaniel told Amateur Radio Newsline by email that it had gone very well and was, in fact, a pleasure to be able to hold the workshop even in these difficult times. He also said next year's conference would be a hybrid with both local attendees and remote attendees, and even presenters via Zoom. The experience this year has shown how much interest there is from around the world. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Paul Brown, WD9 GCO.
The amateur radio ingenuity continues with a reimagining of the canceled Dayton Hamvention, which has now come back to life as the Hamvention QSO Party. Hamvention organizers and the Worldwide Radio Operators Foundation have set a 12-hour event from 1200 to 2400 UTC on May 16 for sideband and CW operation. For details on bands, certificates being awarded, and other relevant information, visit www.rof.org. See you on the air. Meanwhile, ham radio is also offering some encouragement from the skies. Graham Kemp, VK4BB, explains.
As the world below wrestles with a deadly pandemic, a message of hope and concern is being delivered from above, from an amateur radio satellite using Automatic Packet Reporting System, or APRS. The satellite is Laypan A2, and the text message it's sending on 2 meters says simply this, and I quote, "Stay healthy, stay at home, #Lawan Corona," end quote. News of the message was posted on the website of Indonesia's Amateur Radio Society, ORARI. Hams throughout Indonesia who have their APRS-equipped HTs tuned to the frequency of 145.825 have received the message. The message is a plea from Sony Dwi Hasno, a researcher at the Centre for Satellite Technology. He said it's being sent in support of government policy encouraging social distancing. The Indonesian microsatellite has been in orbit since 2015. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Graham Kemp, VK4BB.
Amateur Radio Newsline also sends its condolences to the ham radio community in the Philippines, where COVID-19 has claimed the life of one prominent amateur. Billy Sanson, 4I1AFT, became a silent key on March 23rd. For now, with Karen Eve Murray, KD2 GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team worldwide, I'm Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG in Bloomington, Indiana, saying 7-3, and as always, we thank you for listening. Amateur Radio Newsline is copyright 2020, all rights reserved.
And as always, we say thank you to Newsline for the use of their copyright material. To WARO News now, and it's a very good evening to Rosemary, ZL1RO.
Thanks, Jim, and good evening, everyone. By now you should have all received your WARO bulletin. Don't forget to send it on to the overseas WAOs that you sponsor into WARO. And talking about sponsorship, for many years WARO members have sponsored DX WAOs into our organisation, and in turn have been sponsored into the DX WAOs organisation. There are at present a number of WAOs awaiting a new sponsor, and if you're interested in sponsoring one of these ladies from another country into WARO, contact Secretary Marlene ZL1MIL at her address inside the front cover of any bulletin magazine, and she'll send you further details. I'm sure that WARO members will realise by now that an alternative means will have to be found for our AGM to take place. It is usually held during NZART conference. Members will be contacted about this in due course. In these changing times, most of you will be confined to home and may be looking for something different to fill in time. How about starting on a WARO award? There are 4 different WARO awards available, which are an HF award, a VHF UHF award, a Century award, and the Mountain Buttercup award. You only need 10 contacts with WARO members to get started, and you might have that number of contacts in your log already. Details of the WARO awards and much more are on our website, which is www.qsl.net/NZWARO. How about writing something for the next bulletin to fill in some idle time? Editor Top CZL2LS would be delighted to receive your written contribution and photos. Send them off to scott@tasman.net. Well, that's all for this month, Jim. Good night and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you, Rosemary. Reporting for WARO, Rosemary Boshier, ZL1RO. Finally, in tonight's official broadcast lineup, it's Branch News. Here's Stephen McNeill, ZL4HG.
Thanks, Jim, and good evening, everyone. Well, if I were preparing this segment a few weeks ago, there would have been many events in branches around the country. But we're now in lockdown, so meetings are just not possible. Most branches have put events on hold for the time being, and the situation is, to put it mildly, fluid. So what most branches do seem to be doing is holding more regular nets, either on VHF or HF, in an effort to keep members connected. So although I don't have specific items for this segment, I'd encourage you to look to your local NZART branch and see what they're offering. Get on the air and maintain your social distance on 2 metres. Well, I think that's pretty much all from me, Jim. Back to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen McNeill, ZL4HG, reporting from Christchurch. The next official broadcast of NZART will be made by ZL6A at 8 p.m. on Sunday, the 26th of April. This is ZL6A, headquarters station of the New Zealand Association of Radio Transmitters, concluding the NZART official broadcast for March 2020. Good night, everyone. Good night now.